welcome to the All Hazards Prepper podcast. I'm your host, Blake. This is the first episode of the All Hazards Prepper podcast. Super grateful that you have taken a little bit of time out of your day to join me to listen to this first episode of the All Hazards Prepper podcast. And so grateful for those that have been following me the last few weeks on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. I have a TikTok as well, but the government's probably about to ban it, so not using that too much anymore. So super grateful for everyone that's been following me. The first part of this episode is just going to be me talking a little bit about myself. Then I'm going to go into why I prep, why I think you should prep, and based on the current state of the world that we're in with the increase in natural and man-made disasters and technological disasters, and you name it. The first thing is kind of why I started doing the podcast. Those who've been following me know I was on a podcast, The Last Prepper Standing, just a few weeks ago. Got a great chance to do that. So I was so happy and so grateful to be on the first podcast there. Really liked doing that. Felt like that was a good form of content for me. And then really wanted to talk, more about prepping. That can't be fit into an Instagram or Facebook or surely not a TikTok post. And then be able to drive some good conversations, talk a little bit more about current events, maybe a little bit of politics here and there, and then also get the chance to maybe interview some subject matter experts on that as well. Might talk about a little bit of weather as well. Not a meteorologist by any means. I am a weather geek. I think as a prepper, you got to be a weather geek, but just kind of want to do that on this type of podcast. I'm going to try to shoot one maybe once a week and try to keep it 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there. But I listen to podcasts almost every day. I'll listen to podcasts now more than I listen to music. So really looking forward to doing this and doing the podcast, and been really enjoying the content creating as well. So a little bit about me. My name is Blake. I live in North Carolina, the great state of North Carolina. Live in the central part of the state, just a little bit south of Raleigh, if you're familiar with this area. Been a prepper, I don't even know how long. Uh, Probably 15, 20 years, maybe. I'm only 28, but that's how long I've been doing this. I started at probably first grade in the Cub Scouts, was in Cub Scouts and then Boy Scouts from first grade all the way to high school. I got my Eagle Scout at 16, so all the be prepared, and the Scout motto is be prepared. So try to live that every day of my life as well. From there, went to be a volunteer firefighter in my local community where I grew up. Really loved doing that. Thought that might have been a career for me at some point. But from there, was doing that, doing community college. Went to a private university here in North Carolina. I transferred after a year to a public, just due to the size of the school. I was a political science / public administration major whenever I transferred. I transferred to East Carolina University. And go Pirates. If you want to talk to me about the Pirates, happy to do so about that as well. I met my wife there at East Carolina. Whenever I arrived at ECU, I was a political science major. I had a comms major as well, but quickly dropped that and went to just political science major, and then another major in security studies. If you're not familiar with that, go Google it. It's a different type of degree. It's part of political science, but a lot of what I focused on was emergency management, was disaster management. I did focus a little bit because I had to with the major in international relations, especially Middle Eastern studies. I focused more in the Middle East, talking through that as well with professors and doing some research on that. At East Carolina, I had the great opportunity. I was applying for jobs. I found a job doing emergency management as an intern for the university. Got that job, and from there, the firefighter went away. I was still doing volunteer when I went home, but that was no longer what I wanted to do. I really fell in love with emergency management because I've been a prepper for a little while, and emergency management is prepping. It's essentially being a prepper, just not that term. We use the term emergency manager. And being that for either in higher education, I'm in K-12 currently. We have emergency management there in a local municipality, county, city. You're probably familiar with your state, emergency management, especially during whatever disaster you're facing. They get on TV, and then of course FEMA. So emergency management's everywhere. It's the public sector, private sector, non-governmental. So had that chance to do the internship, learning emergency management, working with some great people. East Carolina is on the coast of eastern part of the North Carolina, so got the hurricanes and all that fun weather, and got the chance to work doing that as well. That type of response and planning, along with everything else higher ed brings. From the internship, got a full time job with the university. Was there for a little while. Then COVID hit, and once COVID hit, I was just kind of looking for something new and something. The university was going through a lot of changes. Didn't really know if I wanted to stick around for those changes. Was dating my now wife at the time, and from there I started applying for jobs. I applied for a little job in Laramie, Wyoming. Didn't think I would get it, but ended up getting it. And I'm a Christ follower, and I always believed in that God has a plan for me, and God pretty was speaking pretty clearly to me on that, and said, "Dude, you got to go out there, and I gotta ride for you." And that's what I did, and I went out there and got the chance to do some great things out there. I absolutely loved it, even though it was very cold, a lot of snow, and not a lot of people. But got the chance to do a lot of things out there, do some big wildfire responses, winter weather responses, and planning, and tying in with federal and state governments. And got the chance to work with great people out there, learn a lot more about the emergency management field, things that we don't really see here in North Carolina, but get to see out west. And then I personally get to see a different part of the world, which was fun, or a different part of the country. I was there for about a year, and a girlfriend at the time said, "You're not. I'm not moving here. It's too desolate. Not enough people. Not enough things. There isn't a mall. There isn't basic things that I need." So I moved back to doing emergency management in North Carolina for my current job, doing K-12 emergency management. Been doing that for about 3 years, as I said, and super grateful for the opportunity that I'm getting to do now. Getting to do a little bit more security type of emergency management. A little bit more planning for different type of scenarios and stuff like that. Getting to work in a K-12 environment is definitely fun and inspiring. So that's a little bit about me. Through that, you can see a little bit why I'm a prepper. My family was a little bit of a prepper at prepping. We lived in the country, and I was always the kid that I was always a weather geek. That people thought I might have been going in meteorology, but I'm terrible at math, so that was not going to work. So the good thing about emergency management is we use a lot of weather and a lot of meteorology, but don't have to do we can rely on other people to do that. So, and subject matter experts on that. So I get the chance to do that weather stuff. But I was always the kid that, been watching the weather, and okay, parents, mom, dad, hurricanes coming. Do we got gas in the generator? Do we got, the food, the water, and all those things? I remember, funny story, sidebar here, but in probably middle school, probably earlier, no, probably in fifth, fourth grade, I built a kit for Christmas. So on Christmas morning, you need the batteries, the screwdrivers, the scissors, the trash bag. So I built a kit to handle Christmas morning. So we used it for several years past then. I always look back and laugh about that, but that was me. That was I was always the person to really get into the prepping, even when it wasn't called a prepper. And since then, I've just kind of built on it. I very aware of what's going on in the world. Always been aware of not only what's going on in my local community, what's going on in the world. I'm trying to be politically diverse and understand what's causing different things, and what's affecting other things, and that's really how I got into the political science realm as well. So through this, you can see a little bit why I'm a prepper. And now in my adult life, now that I have adult money, I can even do more prepping. That's always fun. But I really started doing this because I had so many people over the last year or more coming up to me. Where do I start? I see all these preppers on Google, YouTube, and it seems very advanced. Where do I start? So that's kind of why I started this, is to there's no better time than now, especially we'll talk about it in a minute, but there's no better time to start prepping. And I really believe you have to start with the foundations first. You have to start with what I've been talking about on my social media pages to really develop that baseline, preparedness, and then grow from there. A lot of preppers, they focus on what they call the doomsday or the SHTF, which is shit hit the fan. Uh, so pardon my French. I really, it's good to prep for that stuff. It's good to talk about that stuff. But if you can't handle the basic disasters that are happening every single day in this nation, in the world, you will not be able to handle those big time disasters, the doomsday or whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to get too much into that because I have other beliefs on those types of things. But we'll get to those on another day, another podcast. But really want to get people, starting with that basic prepping, and I'm going to put out content too for the more advanced preppers and stuff like that as well. So that's kind of why I started this. Really enjoyed doing it though, and really getting a chance to connect with other preppers and people that have been doing it for a long time and people that are just starting out. So it's a great community to kind of get started with and get really some good ideas. So why I prep, talked about that a little bit, a few minutes ago. But I live in a state that's affected by natural disasters. Very often. We live on the eastern part of the United States. We're affected by hurricanes, by tropical storm, tropical weather a lot, severe weather, tornadoes, wind-driven events. That severe weather is we're in that season right now, so we get to see all of that. Winter weather a little bit. We I love to see some snow every once in a while. We're driven by that, and then the not only the natural stuff that's happening, even droughts, and it's very hot here and stuff like that. But we also got to look at the man-made things that are happening around us. Whenever I talk about a man-made disaster, I'm talking about something that's not naturally driven, something that's a man-made disaster is it could be a hazardous material spill. I live on near a major road, hazardous materials going up and down the road. A little bit. We live near a gas station, so gas is coming in and out. So it could be a gas spill or something like that that affects us. A natural gas spill, propane tank, something like that. It could be we live a few miles, not more than 20, I think. Up the road is a nuclear power plant, so that's something you got to think about. The man-made disasters could be dam failure. It could be, release from a chemical release from a chemical company in the area or some other, company or something like that. It could be technological stuff. It could be, we just the other week we saw AT&T have a mass outage around the U.S. with their cellular network. Things like that could happen. The 911 centers just last week were going down. Cyber attacks are becoming way more frequent in today's world with everything so technologically advanced and tied together. That is definitely a major concern for me as well. But those are some of the things that could happen. And then let alone the terrorism, the acts of violence, the active shooters, the all that type of stuff that you got to be prepared for in today's world as well. So that's why I prep, and that's really why you should prep as well. It's not really we're going to prep because there's a nuclear bomb about to go. It could that happen? Absolutely, it could. But more likely than not, the natural disaster you're going to face or the man-made disaster you're going to face is something that you've seen in your lifetime that you've probably seen in the last year. Go turn on the news and see. I hate to be the one to say go turn on the news, but you got to stay aware of what's going on in not only your local community, in your state, in your country, in the region, in the world. Look at the space too while you're at it, but you really gotta stay aware as a prepper. And I've talked about that last week about staying situationally aware. We'll talk about that maybe on the next podcast. I'm going to try to build on different things as we go into the podcast. But just want to mention that is just staying situationally aware as a prepper, staying aware of what's going on, what you need to prepare for. If you need to prepare for things that are more likely to happen than less likely to happen. In North Carolina, I'm not preparing for tsunamis. Could it happen? Maybe. One day, like not anytime soon, but probably not. But maybe if you're in Hawaii, yeah, you probably want to prepare for a tsunami or Alaska or something. Meanwhile, they're probably not preparing for, something that we don't prepare for, winter weather or something like, or we do prepare for like winter weather or something like that. So, that's a little bit about me, about why I prep. Like I said, I'm going to try to put these out once a week. I'm going to try to build on it a little bit more at a time. If you are interested in being on the podcast because you are a prepper, you have some sort of subject matter expert within prepping or weather, or politics, news. List goes on. I have a few friends and family in mind already to tap, maybe. But if you're also interested in just if you want me to talk about something, you want me to you explore an idea, if you want some advice on something, definitely shoot me an email, shoot me a direct message on Instagram, on Facebook, one of those platforms, and happy to talk with you and put it on the podcast and let's talk about it. I'm going to try to get my wife on here. She doesn't know this, but I'm going to try to get her on here because she has a different view on prepping than I might. Get her on board slowly, but anyway. But so that's kind of me and why I'm doing this the All Hazards Prepper podcast. I'm calling it the All Hazards because I want people to prepare for everything that they could face. I wanted to be all hazards. That's a term we use in emergency management. Is the all hazards, and making sure you got that plan ready that's facing that all hazard. Make sure that you got the resources ready that's facing those all hazards and continued. So super glad that you joined me today. Kept it below 20 minutes, so I'm doing good. And just so grateful that you've joined me today, taking a little bit of time out of your day to really dig into the prepping, to dig into the all hazard prepper, and learn a little bit more about myself. Like I said, please like the video wherever you're watching this. Go and subscribe to the YouTube. I'm running a giveaway right now. If you're interested in looking at that, go to the Facebook, to the Instagram, to the YouTube for instructions on how to do that giveaway, and you will get the chance on May 8th to possibly get a Midland weather radio. Which is great to have, especially during severe weather season. And hurricane season is coming up too. And May 1st is the start of Hurricane Preparedness Month. So we'll talk a little bit about hurricanes and stuff like that as well. So glad that you joined me today on the All Hazards Prepper podcast. Everyone stay safe out there. The All Hazard Prepper out.